What's up, Omnibus Collectors? Riley here, and today I wanted to take a look at 5 of my favorite rare comics in my collection. Alright, I hope everyone enjoyed that new intro video that my wife helped put together for me. We put a little work into that. I wanted to have something that was kind of fun just to put some of my personality into my videos. So I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'm going to be having that featured in my videos towards the front and stuff as we go forward. Now, before I get into the topic at hand, just wanted to give quick thanks to my new Patreon family members, Nelson and Inward. Thank you so much for becoming new members of the Patreon family and helping me to make this channel better. If anyone else out there wants to join in and become a member of that Patreon family, there's a link down below. You can see all the cool and exciting exclusive stuff that you'll get access to if you decide to become a member of our Patreon family. And also, if you like what I do on this channel, be sure to check out my other channel, the Omnibus Collectors Network, where I join a bunch of other YouTubers in talking about various stuff, comics, manga, movies, games, TV, and multiple shows every single week. There's a lot of cool content on there, so I hope you'll join us. Alright, so let's take a look. I wanted to take a look at some of the rare books that I have in my collection, but not just based on their rarity, but based more on how much I love them, and then talk a little bit about why those books are important to me, why I enjoy them as much as I do, what they mean to me, and then maybe just a little more information on each one of those. So let's start. Now, these are in no particular order, so don't think I'm doing this from like least to most or anything like that. I'm just grabbing things as we go. And the first one on my stack is Sweet Tooth. Now, these are the hardcover editions of Sweet Tooth from Vertigo. This is from when they still had the Vertigo label at DC, so it doesn't have the black label on there. The series was 40 issues long, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire, and is collected across 3 hardcover volumes. I don't know exactly which of these is rare. I know that at least one of these is hard to find now, but this is a series that I absolutely love and means so much to me for several reasons. So, number one, this was the first Vertigo title that I followed in single issues from number 1 all the way to the end. So that was something really big for me because I'd really loved a lot of Vertigo titles at the time, but when I was jumping into collecting single issues, a lot of them were already ongoing for quite a while, so it was really cool to jump in on something from the ground floor that wound up having such a great impact on me. Number 2, this was the first material that I read from Jeff Lemire, who had become one of my favorite comic creators. So this introduced me to Lemire as a creator and kind of opened the doors to a bunch of his other work and had me paying attention to him following this book, which he's done a lot of really noteworthy work since. But of course, the main reason that I love this book is because it's such a great story, and it's something that I think just works so well in the comic medium, and it was such a great cinematic experience almost that had me revisit the story multiple times. It has a great beginning, great middle, great end. It's a great journey all the way through. And I know that Jeff Lemire's artwork kind of stands out as rough to some, but for me, it really grew on me pretty quickly in this book, and I think there's a lot of people for which it's the same way. You know, they start out thinking, oh, his art's kind of rough, not really my taste, but once you get a little further into reading his works, you can see there's a lot of emotional depth that goes into his art that really feeds the style that he's looking to make with his storytelling. Fortunately, though, for anyone who missed out on these really nice hardcover editions, I would say there's a huge chance that DC winds up printing new editions, probably an omnibus or maybe a couple of absolute editions for this series, as it was optioned for a Hulu show, and it looks like that is currently in development. So at some point in the near future, I would not be surprised if we see a new solicitation closer to the time that the series is going to be released onto Hulu. It would definitely not be a surprise to me to find that they're going to release some sort of nice premium format for the series. So fingers crossed for everyone out there who didn't get to grab these hardcovers, that they'll be able to experience it in some really nice format. And also for me, because I would love to have an even better format than these awesome hardcovers. Now next, this is one of my all-time favorite comic series, Alan Moore's Saga of the Swamp Thing. Now, I kind of got into this series on a whim. I had never read any Swamp Thing stuff, but I knew Alan Moore's name from his other works, obviously Watchmen and V for Vendetta and stuff like that. And knowing more and knowing how much I enjoyed his work, I wanted to check it out. And I stumbled upon this first hardcover one day at a half-price books location for just about $10, which I had no idea how lucky I was to find that, but a lot of these hardcovers of the 6-volume series have gone far out of print. Now, one of the reasons I really love this hardcover in particular is because of the way it's built. And I think this is one of the first hardcovers that really made me appreciate the build of these collected edition comics that we get. Now, I know it's going to be hard to see on camera, but the dust jacket has a sort of texture to it that's unlike other dust jackets that we get. It's unlike all the dust jackets that are in this series in itself. But it's underneath the dust jacket that I think they went above and beyond on making this look like something truly special. Now, underneath the dust jacket, we get this hardback with an embossed print of Swamp Thing himself, and this lovely taping on the side, on the spine, with the embossed letters of Saga the Swamp Thing down the spine. This is truly one of the most exceptionally beautiful hardcovers that I have in my collection, and luckily they did a pretty decent job of emulating that same style on the Absolute Edition of the Saga of the Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. However, the Absolute Editions, as many people know, does not retain the same classic coloring that the standard hardcovers did. On the old hardcovers, they retain that same coloring from the original issues that was not trying to be as realistic as the new coloring from the new editions, and it had a lot more, I think, depth and honestly flavor to the way that the characters and the surroundings are colored in these pages, and I absolutely love the way that these look. And that's why, even though I own the Absolute Edition, I still want to hang on to these original hardcovers because I'd like to be able to experience the artwork in its original format. Now, I know that's not the only rare volume of the set. It is a 6-volume set. I don't know exactly which volumes are the harder to find ones. I'm sorry, I didn't do a little bit more research on that, but you can see that the other hardcovers in the set do not have that same matte finish to the dust jacket, and underneath the dust jacket, the actual hardcovers have more of a plain black look, so none of them have that same effect as the original one. Now, fortunately, last I checked, the paperback editions are still pretty easy to come across, so if you want to read the series and don't want to shell out for the expensive Absolute Editions that have the newer coloring, then you can still check it out via those paperback editions. I'm hoping that once they release all 3 of the Absolute Editions that they might put out an omnibus edition, and if they do, then maybe they'll consider untouching the colors from the original work. Now, the next 3 are all going to be Marvel books, so I apologize for the repetitiveness in this, but all 3 of these have some special meaning to me, and I really do love these books. Now, the first of the Marvel books is X-Men Inferno. This is the oversized hardcover edition of the X-Men event that wrapped up a lot of what was going on during Claremont's run on the X-Men series. Now, of course, this isn't the end of his run, but this is the event that wrapped up a lot that was going on from all the previous crossovers, from Mutant Massacre and Fall of the Mutants, and also from a lot of what Louise Simonson had been doing in the X Factor series. When I was putting together my collection of Claremont hardcovers, this was really the rarest piece, and it still currently is the rarest piece of that set. And in trying to find one, it took me forever, and I went from store to store looking every day online to find a copy for a price that I thought was good. And everything I was finding was $250 or more, which for a book that has a cover price of $75 was something that I didn't really know if I wanted to go for that. And one day I was searching comic shops around Dallas, which I now live in the Dallas, Texas area, but before I lived in the Houston area. And upon entering one random one with my now brother-in-law, there it was, just sitting there, a copy of Inferno. And for cover price, $75. And I was just stricken. I was so excited to find that book sitting there because I was not expecting to find it. Now, it did take a few years for me to finally read the book, and as I was getting to that point in Claremont's run on the X-Men, I know that a lot of people were telling me how much they disliked the Inferno event, and so I went in with kind of lowered expectations, but finally getting to it and reading it, I enjoyed it so much more than I expected to. Next, and this one I know is one that a lot of people have been searching for a while, and this is the Death of Captain America omnibus. Now, I don't have any special story about tracking this one down. I bought it back when it was in print. I bought it for about half of cover price. And then I got to see prices skyrocket on this thing as it went out of print. The one cool thing about my copy is I do have it signed right there on the glove by Steve Epting, so that's something notable. But this is one that I love because this run on Captain America was something that really opened my eyes to a lot more in comics, a lot more at Marvel. I had never read any Captain America before I had read Ed Brubaker's run, and I always had the impression that he was kind of a boring character, which tends to happen a lot with people. I noticed that, someone might make those impressions for themselves about who a character is without having actually read anything, with only knowing them from their concept or maybe their appearances in other media. And so I decided, because I had heard so many good things about Brubaker's Captain America, that I wanted to go ahead and check it out. And at the time, the most cost-effective way was to buy those omnibus editions. So I bought the first one, and I dug through that so fast that I needed to order the second one almost immediately. And luckily, like I said, at the time, this was in print, and the third one had just come out, and I know that one's out of print as well. So before I knew it, I was just digging through all of his run that was out, and it was still ongoing at the time. So after I finished the Captain America Lives omnibus, I then was able to start reading the ongoing material that he was doing that would eventually be collected in the latter two omnis of his run. I still to this day believe that Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America is one of the finest pieces of comic literature that Marvel Comics has put out, especially in the past couple of decades. So if you haven't been able to read it yet, definitely jump on it. And I know that they are reprinting the first omnibus volume, so that's good news for collectors now who may have not had the chance to pick these up like I did. Hopefully Marvel will see some positive sales with that first volume being re-released, so that they'll also continue and re-release Death of and Captain America Lives. Now the last one on my set, this is a 2-volume set from Marvel, the Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. Now, this is one, I did buy these as they came out, and this was one of the first omnibus sets that I remember buying that I had upgraded from single editions. Not only did I upgrade from my single editions, but I also upgraded from my singles to some of the regular collected editions, and then from there to the omnibus editions, because I loved this run so much. And in retrospect, I think this run means a lot more for me now, because it was one that, just to kind of go back in some of my life experiences, when I was in college, one of my best friends and I, we went to college together, and we would meet for lunch almost every single day. We both had big breaks in the middle of our days, and every week, every Thursday after New Comic Day, I would talk to him about all the new stuff that I had picked up, and I'd show him things. And I remember it was kind of funny, one day we were talking about how neither of us really cared about the Fantastic Four. And for us, all we had really seen was the cartoons and maybe the movies that came out. So we really had no experience with the Four in the comics. And that same day, I was reading an article about all of the best current publications that Marvel was putting out, and on that list was the Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. Now, I was reading Secret Warriors by Jonathan Hickman, and I was enjoying that series enough, so I said, okay, well, if I enjoy Secret Warriors as much as I do, and they're saying Fantastic Four is one of the best series from Marvel right now, let me go ahead and check it out. And I think the first hardcover had just come out, so that day, that Wednesday, I went to the comic shop and I bought that hardcover, and I went home and I read that immediately. And the next day I went to school, and when I met with my friend, I was like, dude, you have got to read this. And I gave it to him, and I was like, I know we just talked about Fantastic Four, but you have got to read this. I promise you, you're going to enjoy this. And he was a really fast reader, so he finished that book within about 30 minutes, and he looked at me and was like, holy crap, dude, this is amazing. And so that became one of our favorite comics. And my friend's no longer with us anymore, but it was something that we loved together basically until that series ended. And I remember going through all the highs and the lows of the series, and the excitement of the end of the Fantastic Four and what was happening, and what the FF was and all that stuff. And so it's something that really resonates with me still, and it's a series that I absolutely loved. And I'm so happy that they put it out in this prestige format, and I'm glad to see that Hickman has become the big name that he is at Marvel, almost the main writer at Marvel at this point. But it'll always have that special place for me, not just because of the quality of the series, but because it was a series that I have such strong memories and ties to my best friend who's no longer with us, so I can still keep that on my mind for as long as I live. So not meaning to get super emotional with you guys, I'm really sorry about that, but those were 5 of my favorite rare comics that I own. If you'd like to see me talk about more of my rare books that I own, or maybe do a video of my rarest books, my most expensive books and stuff like that, let me know in the comments down below. Now, with every rare book that's out there, I always hope that they get reprinted so that everyone can pick them up and everyone can enjoy them, because I hate seeing books that are so expensive and long out of print that people are just not able to enjoy books in the format that they want to. So hopefully everything I've talked about here gets reprinted in some sort of new format at some point in the future, so that everyone that watches this can enjoy those books. But if you can't find the omnibus editions and they don't get reprinted, know that there's always other ways, other means to read these books, whether it be through digital or through paperbacks or anything like that. There's always a way to enjoy awesome comics. So thank you so much everyone for watching this one. I hope it was enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.